Hey, what's going on? I'm Keith here at Sports Vibes TV, and today I'm joined by our friend George from at Into the Knicks Verse. George, how's everything with you?
Very good, very good. Good to be here after the season.
Yeah, man.
We are
Tough
now
season.
in it. Off season. We are in the off season now, man.
Yeah, officially, even though the NBA and its entirety isn't in the offseason, Knicks unfortunately have hit that part of the season. And we're going to talk about some of the players and their performances, how they played, especially the young guys, because Mark Berman, he was on recently with a couple shows on YouTube, Knicks Buzz and also the Nick of
Yeah,
Time
he's making
show.
the rounds, huh?
Yeah, he's making the rounds. He got to get his name out there. You know, everybody reads it in print, but now they want to put the name to the face. So now you're seeing Berman a lot more on YouTube, actually allowing other content creators to get access to him. So I think that's dope. So I want to give a shout out to him for that. And on a couple of the shows, he's mentioned that Tom Thibodeau is actually agreeing with what a lot of us have been saying, and that he messed up not playing the kids to more this season. So, George, when you first heard that, what did you think?
I thought uh well, for one, I thought of course he has to regret it. I mean, he's
Hmm.
if I mean, we may have many issues with him, but he's not a dumb man. He's a very smart man. He just took a left turn and, like a man, never stopped and asked for directions back.
He's too prideful.
Too prideful,
Crazy.
exactly. So it was refreshing to hear him admit it, because the gaslighting that we went through as a fan base and as content creators was pretty severe, and then you have that whole other group, which I appreciate. I appreciate his supporters. I do. They want to believe, and I mean, he has credentials that are worthy of believing in him. So I don't have an issue with people believing in him. But when the inverse of that is, we don't know what we're talking about. That's the rough part. So it was nice to hear him admit this. Oh yeah, there it is. The tweet. Sweeney Pooh. Oh, you're muted.
Whoopsie. To me, it was kind of crazy though, because if you looked at it, I'm not looked at it, but if you look at what he said, now what was it, 2 or 3 weeks, prior, he was mentioning that we had to watch the game 2 or 3 times before we could come to the conclusion that there were issues with his rotation. Now, here at the end of the season, he's able to look back and say, "Hey, maybe you guys were actually correct." So to me, I just think it just shows how dysfunctional I think the Knicks were this season. That you have the coach saying one thing, disagreeing with what the vast majority of both fans of the team and just fans of basketball have been saying. And now he's going to turn around and say, in private, not even in public, and say that he might have made a mistake by not playing them guys. I think it's upsetting. But looking at it positively, hopefully next season he'll go into it with a new mindset. And on the show, Berman mentioned a few
That's a
names:
great point.
Obi, Quick, Deuce. So hopefully now that he's on the right path, or we can hope that he's on the right path, and we can see more of these guys integrated into the rotation and getting a lot more minutes. Because in this live stream, we'll also be going through some of the young guys, giving them grades, and also looking at what we would do, what role we would put them in next season if we were, coach and GM.
That's a great point about it. Pointing towards next season, because if he really does genuinely feel like that, then he probably will embrace playing the younger guys more next season. So that's a good thing. Now, again, this is only privately. Privately, he realizes the stuff. He hasn't said it out to the public. He hasn't really said much to make us feel good in terms of his public opinions. But if this is true, that is a good sign. It just, he's such a stubborn guy that I think that's what it comes down to. He's just stubborn. And then that hurts everything. That impacts everything because it impacts his in-game decisions. Like all of that stubbornness trickles down into everything. The positives are he when something does work, I mean, he really does stick with it. So maybe now he finally got a taste of that with the younger guys. Okay, this works. I'm going to stick with this as far as I can go with it. Let's hope. That's my hope that this can be a positive thing.
Yeah, man. The fact that he's saying it privately, I think we just have to wait and see it in effect. If he heads into the season next year and he's playing more minutes, or he's giving more minutes to Quick, giving more minutes to Obi, then I think you can kind of stomach the team returning with him as head coach. But we can't see more of what we saw this season. We can't see him going against the grain and trying to somehow try to justify not giving those guys extended minutes, especially with the sample size we saw at the end of the season. And I know some people argue about, it not really being meaningful games and things like that, but you saw Obi shooting stroke.
Those were meaningful games for the other teams.
Exactly. And you also saw Obi shooting stroke, whether those are meaningful games or not, Obi has to knock down those shots. And he's knocking them down at a high clip. Some of them were contested. So I think that's something that can carry over to next season. You also saw Obi create some for himself, or, IQ, Obi, they've got some synergy playing together. So if we can take that and just start putting these young guys in better positions to succeed, I think this team is going to be back in the picture next year, where we may not be, playoff contending, but we should be, play in just off what we have right now. So I don't want them to go into the offseason, try and get crazy, move some of these young guys. I think that's something that really sticks out to me too, the fact that he's fond of Quick, of Obi, of Deuce. So that means I would assume he's not going to sign off on trading them in the offseason. So that gives me a little bit of security, because we don't know what's going to happen. Thibs, his feet is at the fire, front office feet is at the fire. And, we didn't hear anything about Cam. We heard Quick, we heard Obi, we heard Deuce, but I haven't heard any news about Cam. And that's a guy I'm pretty concerned about when it comes to us in this offseason. I don't think he's a Thibs guy, honestly.
I think you're right. I think we're unsure about what's going to happen with Cam. Maybe Cam's going to be traded, and that's why he didn't spend much time talking about him. Which would suck, because I think Cam has such a high ceiling. It'd be nice to see him explore it on our team. But if he's not going to give him time, then that's not going to happen. So it's going to, this offseason is so pivotal for the direction of this franchise for the next 5 years at least. I can't wait to see what actually ends up developing. Beginning with the lottery, because the lottery, if we get lucky in the lottery, that could impact everything.
Yep. And speaking of the lottery, if the Clippers go out and lose today, which, they'll be playing without PG-13, if they lose and the Pelicans get into the playoffs, then I think that would advance us from the 12th to the 11th seed, if I'm not mistaken. Right, George?
Yes, that is correct.
Yep.
That is
so
correct.
Hopefully we'll be rooting for the Pelicans. They can go out there, get the victory, and then we can better our chances to try and move up in the draft.
In fact, I'm going to look up that the odds. What happens is, if right now we have a 7.1% chance of getting into the top 4. If the Pelicans win, then we will have a 9.4% chance. So we increased 2.5 percentage points.
Let's go for that 2 percentage points. Let's go.
Go.
That's all we got to root for right now.
Dude, we get the number 4 pick. We package that with Julius Randle, send them both out of town, and get back something that can work with RJ and the young core. I mean, that'll just totally revitalize this franchise.
That's a snap of fact. All right. I want to give a couple shout outs. Nudie25, he says, "Que lo que, what's good?" Salute Nudie. Appreciate you tuning in. UBG said, "What's good, Knicks Nation?" Thank you guys for joining in. We've got 50 in chat. 20 likes. Do us a solid. Make sure you smash that like button. And also, if you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed to Sports Vibes TV and subscribe to George at Into the Knicks Verse. You can visit his channel via the hyperlink in the title.
Cameron Goldberg, Geraldine MacGyver, Sincere the Genius, Jason Acosta. Good to see you guys. UBG.
Facts. Cameron Goldberg asked, "What did Thibs say?" Basically, he admitted that he messed up by not playing the young guys. And that was some regret I was dealing with about this season. And I really had no say in the matter, but I just regretted not being able to see what those guys could do as a unit and given an opportunity to kind of blossom this season. I think this would have been a great year for them to kind of take a next step. And I think we saw a few guys take, steps further in their career, getting better with Quick, Obi, and whatever they were able to do in those last 3-4 games of the season. But I think what we saw in those 3 or 4 games, we could have seen in a much larger sample size if Thibs would have just let them rock.
That's what we wanted. I mean, that should have been number 2 mission of this season. Number 1 is be as good as you can be and see how far you can go. All right. At some point, we realized we're not that good. Number 2 should have been play the young guys as much as possible and see what we have in those assets and then develop them. We did neither in reality, which that's a whiff. We whiffed on this season in a lot of respects.
Yeah, we still have some questions, but I think I agree with you. Definitely a whiff. And, you just have to look forward and you have to say with Thibs, hopefully he's learning from his mistakes and he'll do better next season, because I think we have a great young core. They just need the proper guidance and the proper tutelage, and they need to be given the opportunity to make mistakes. Remember, they're young. They're not going to be perfect. They have to be allowed to make mistakes and, build upon that and not be yanked. We heard Obi say it in press conferences that he's not having to worry about looking over his shoulder and playing like that. So once you're able to play free, you're going to get better results.
Absolutely. It's the full milk glass dilemma. Remember when you were a little kid and they gave you that, they filled up the milk glass all the way, and because you spilled the milk, then you get so nervous that you don't want to spill the milk. You start shaking your hand and then the milk goes all over the place. That's how Obi and IQ and all those guys felt like.
Yep.
Oh, if I miss an assignment, if I'm not in the right spot, I'm going to get yanked. And then that makes them tight. And then they're not hitting their shots. They're not in the flow of the game. They're not maximizing their actual talents because they're under this, this rain. Yeah, this microscope. I was going to say reign of terror, but microscope.
Oh, hey, reign of terror sounds better. More poetic.
It's hard to feel good about yourself when you're constantly under the scrutiny of someone like a Thibs. Yeah. And it's hard to perform well.
That's a fact. But
and yet, to their testament, they still persevered, those 2 guys. Especially those 2 guys. Grimes, Deuce, even Cam, they're all new to Thibs. Obi and IQ were with Thibs last season. They came back. They were there, and then they did the summer league and all that stuff. He should have looked at them as his guys. It never really felt like he looked at them that way.
Yeah, facts. And you were mentioning the guys being a little bit nervous, knowing that they were under that quote unquote reign of terror. And it must have definitely been frustrating knowing that you had that small margin of error, but the veteran in front of you didn't have to operate under the same rules. So you throw all of those into the mixing bag, and it was just, for them to be able to persevere, be headstrong, and still have solid performances. I think that's great. That just speaks to the maturity of both of those guys, and hopefully they can continue to build upon that in year 3.
Absolutely. We got some interesting comments here.
Yeah, point one out. I'll put it up on screen.
With Keith Turner, I just listened to Knicks podcast and their opinions, but Knicks fans don't have the patience for a 4 or 5 year rebuild trying to develop RJ or Obi. They're just trade chips.
I mean, I got the patience. I've been a Knicks fan all my life.
Yeah.
How much longer? I'm willing to wait for as long as it takes to celebrate, in Manhattan for that parade.
I think, what Keith is saying there's definitely a lot of truth in that. But there's
a lot of truth in that with all fan bases.
Yeah, with all fan bases, right. But I think if we just see like a commitment and going in the right direction, I think we will have the patience. But when it's like herky jerky and you're starting, and Alec Burks is point guard, and you're like, what the hell? And then last season it was Alfred, and then, Julius is playing like the way he's playing and he's not being held accountable. Like when there's so many conflicting messages and then you have a coach gaslighting you, yes, then we lose patience. But if there is a clear objective and a plan and clear leadership, I think we can be more patient. Maybe 4 or 5 years does feel like a long time, but let's say 3 years. Let's look at it 3 years.
Yeah, we have patience as long as it makes sense. As long as the story you're telling us makes sense, we can say, all right, we can put our hat on that and say that's something we can, discuss with other fan bases when we're trying to discuss the state of our team. We're trying to rebuild. This is what we're doing. We're taking these steps to get better. We hired this coach to help develop these young players. We're moving off from players that might be in their mid to late 30s in order to bring in some assets or things like that to just build a culture to cultivate young talent. If you're taking those steps, we can understand. We'll get impatient when you're doing that 4 or 5 years in a row and we're not seeing any progress. But initially, we'll definitely give you all the time it takes, I think, to put the pieces together in order to have the best or be in the best footing.
We have a super chat there.
Do we? Let me see.
Buzzer beater.
Yes, we need a buzzer beater. $2 super chat. He says we need another frozen envelope.
Oh yes,
that's a Snapple fact.
Need some luck.
Snapple fact, especially when you're looking at our odds. And they owe us. We had the best odds for the first overall pick, and somehow we dropped. So
yeah,
NBA,
we have definitely. It hasn't been kind
right.
to us. The lottery has not been kind to the Knicks recently.
Facts. So George, the NBA hasn't been kind to the Knicks in a long time.
That is a fact.
George, let's jump into the grading portion, talking about some of these young guys and what we can expect for them next season. And just so you understand the premise, this is basically like we're conducting exit interviews, right? For the players that we're discussing. What happened? For the comment?
The day the Knicks win a chip, I'm getting so drunk before and during the parade.
That's a fact, man. You got to celebrate.
We need our own float. We're going to need our own float.
Facts. That's a Snapple fact. That'd be dope, right? If the Knicks reach out to content creators and say, hey, you can jump on a boat.
Yeah.
That'd be dope. But yeah, so George, the premise of this is basically we're conducting exit interviews for the players. We're giving them their grade, letting them know what they did, what they struggled, and what you'd like for them to work on in the offseason. And then we're going to look ahead and say, did we see enough from them to deserve a larger role next season? And SV Nation will ask you as well with a poll in the chat just to get your opinion. You guys know you are the third co-host of our streams. So let's get into the first player. Just going to be Jericho Sims. Boom.
There we go.
So George, you gave Jericho Sims a B-. Want to elaborate?
Well, I gave him a B- mostly just because he really didn't get that much time. It was more about the time that he got. And that's a very good B-, the way I look at it. That could easily become an A- next season, and if he plays that same role and he needs to refine his touch a little bit better. That's one thing. He's basically he's a dunker, but I've seen his shot. It's got a nice little shot. He just doesn't pull it out enough. So hopefully over the offseason, he'll work on that and he can really turn that into like a real asset and become he could easily have been a B+, this season, the way he played. That's no doubt, especially for a 58th pick. So I was just trying to be a little more like realistic in terms of compared to the entire NBA. So that's why I gave him a B-. But I am very impressed with him. I think if we do end up losing Mitch, I think he's a excellent understudy to come right in and fill those shoes that Mitch will be leaving absent once if he does leave the Knicks. So I think we're good. I just wanted I wanted somewhere for him to go, so I started with a B-. Actually, probably was a little low for him.
Yeah, I like the fact that you said that, or you mentioned him being a potential understudy for Mitchell Robinson, because I just dropped a poll in the chat asking whether or not Jericho Sims could be insurance for a potential Mitch departure. Now, I gave Jericho Sims a B+ because I kind of factored in some of the turmoil that was going on with the team itself. You've had Jericho Sims, who initially really wasn't getting much playing time, if any, and when he was starting to get consistent minutes, we saw the kind of impact he can have out there on the court. Now, it's not the same that we see from Mitchell Robinson, but I think if Mitch were to leave and we were to replace him with Jericho Sims, we can get some of the same things that we were getting from Mitch, which is rim protection.
Mm-hmm.
He's also an athletic freak in the paint. And he's only a dunker for the most part, but I think if you look at Jericho Sims, his athleticism and also his footwork, I think there might be a better base to build upon when it comes to adding that offensive repertoire to his game. You look at Mitch, he's a little clunky with his footwork. With Jericho Sims, we've seen some spin moves. We've seen, a little bit of some, hook shots where at least his footwork looks up to par.
He looks
If
like
we
he
can
has
just work with him.
more. He looks like he has more moves
Mhm.
than Mitch. Actually,
he already has the toolbox. We just got to put some tools in him. Mitch right now is still at Home Depot shopping for toolbox.
Yeah, exactly. Mitch just has a belt.
You're right. That's a fact. We got a super chat from Buzzer Beater. He says anything short of a public apology from Thibs is 110% unacceptable. That's a fact. You can't come to the media, say fans don't know what the hell they're talking about, and then behind the scenes try and cop a plea like, maybe
you know what?
they knew.
Let's take a moment right now. Let's take a moment right now. Think about. I mean, we had our quote, best player, tell us to shut the fuck up. And then we have the head coach gaslighting us, shaming us, telling us we don't know what we're talking about because we don't watch the tape 3 times or whatever. I mean, what other team does that with their fans?
It's ridiculous. Honestly,
we have the wife of that guy going after, CP, another content creator, blaming him for the opinions of callers. And attacking him when he's trying to, reach out and be like, hey, I'm a father. It's terrible. You shouldn't go after children. She's like, oh, nice for you to say. It's like, what the heck? I mean, it's like,
what's going on?
Yeah.
It's bizarro land.
Yeah.
It was a weird season, man.
This was one of the weirdest seasons I've ever seen for the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like
when you even omitted you omitted Leon Rose ducking and dodging the media.
And then that
doesn't answer any questions. He's putting up, like Foxy says, propaganda videos.
Yeah.
It's crazy, bro.
He did answer a lot of things, but it's just he wasn't put to the test by the media, which is what he should be.
Mm-hmm. He was interviewed by an employee of the company he helps to run.
Yeah.
How hard hitting were the questions going to be?
Yeah, he got off easy.
Yep.
And I'm glad the media is annoyed by it. They're all riled up about it right now. About Leon not accepting,
as they should. They have a job to do, and him not being at the forefront answering questions makes their job difficult. And most people, when somebody else is making their job harder than it has to be, they get frustrated.
Yeah.
So just want to point out a couple of Jericho Sims highlights. He had a double-double versus Brooklyn. And if you look at his struggles, it was one, earning Thibs' trust, and it was his free throw shooting. That's definitely something he's going to have to work on. He only shot 41%.
He's worse than
free
Mitch.
throw line. Yeah, it was brutal.
That ain't easy.
It was brutal.
That ain't easy to be a worse free throw shooter than Mitch.
Yeah, but look at the field goal percentage. It's on par with what we see from Mitch.
Yeah.
So if he's a solid enough rebounder, if he can be a little bit of a better offensive rebounder, we might be able to get some similar production that we were getting out of him that we did from Mitch. So it's something to look at. I think it definitely makes the Knicks, even though you're trying to hide from me. Where you going, George? What's going on?
Oh, my head.
I looked up. I looked down. I'm like, oh, he's out of picture. Is he okay? Oh man, let's see if we got any other chats. Oh boy, G says, I don't believe Thibs. This is damage control. Thibs' stubbornness is his weakness, and it costs the team to grow. That's a fact. That's a fact. We also got 109 in chat. Thank you guys for tuning in. Also, we're at 37 likes. So do us a solid, smash that like button. Also, let us know your grades down in the chat. I saw a few. The coolest 718, he gives Sims a B.
Robert Woodard
Ashley
gives a B.
INC says A minus. You said Woodard B. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Trade everybody, build around Noel. This comment is Thibs approved.
Yeah.
Chapman says B for Sims. All right, so I think the consensus is right between a B, B minus, and as far high up as a minus from Ashley Inc. INC. Let's check out the poll. See how comfortable people might be with keeping Sims as a potential replacement.
90%.
Wow.
Say yes, keep him.
I thought we might have been a little bit more conflicted.
Yeah. Well, he's good. Also, it just seems like he's going to get better. You know, he'll just keep maturing, get better. You know, get some. I mean, he needs to do that little bit like that 2 or 3 footer. You know, just bank it off the rim, off the backboard. He could really do some damage because athletically, I don't think people can keep up with him. He is. That's what they're so weird. Him and Mitch are like almost identical players.
Yep,
except Mitch is young. Is Mitch? Wait, who's younger?
I think Mitch might be a little bit younger. Wouldn't shock me. Let me see Mitch's age.
I'll look it up here.
Facts. I mean, yeah, they are pretty similar. The only thing is, I think Mitch has more height and length, and I think Sims is just quicker. If you were to point to 2 big differences.
Yeah.
We should have had you look up one age and I look up the other. So Mitch is 24. So I think Mitch is older.
So Mitch is older.
Yeah. I don't think Sims is 24 yet. Yeah, Sims is 23. So Mitch has Sims by a year.
But Sims played all 4 years in college.
Mm-hmm.
Mitch didn't play one. He didn't even play 1 year in college.
And it's not like you come to the NBA and it's an instructional league. So that's why I think, you see Sims, actually, he has like a little bit better of a base.
Mitch is older by like 6 months only. They're both born in 1998.
Both 98 babies?
Yeah. He needs a baby book jumper. Yeah, he does. He needs like a little jumper, a little something. And he kind of has it. He just he has to figure out how to gather himself to do it.
A little bit more aggressive out there too. You hear Walt say time and time again, he's never really looking at the rim.
Yeah.
Okay, Adele Chapman says he was supposed to be a G leaguer and a non-factor for the season. Now he has given us a reason to add him into the fold. This is a fact, Chapman. This is a 5-star comment right here. You look at Sims, what was he, the 58th overall selection? And now we're here talking about him potentially being a replacement as the starting center next season. I think you have to give him a shout out for that, for putting in the work and performing when he's given an opportunity. So that's one thing I think was great watching some of the young guys play to end the season. They were given an opportunity, and for the most part, they all stepped up.
Paul Butler.
That's
a good one.
It won't let me put it up. All right. No Neck Leon is putting his job on the line for Coach Comb over. Oh, man, that's a good one. So, all right, George, let's talk about the next player. That's going to be Quentin Grimes. Now, it's unfortunate he ended the season with the knee injury. But before that point, Grimes was he surprised me. I knew he was going to be a decent player. Foxy was always in my ear saying, you got to keep an eye out on Grimes if he's going to hit the court and he's going to, make some noise. But I wasn't expecting him to be as impactful out there on the court. So what grade did you give Grimes for his performance so far this season? Or not so far, but this season?
I can't remember. Where did I say? A B.
I got,
a B.
Playing hide and seek.
There we go. Yes, a solid B. That could easily have been a B plus. It could easily have been B plus. He didn't surprise me personally because I scouted him out. I could see what kind of player he was, and I thought that his college game would translate really well to the NBA and actually even flourish beyond the college game in the NBA. Because he'd be on the court with better players. And it would actually, and then it would just make his life easier. And he showed it. And man, can that guy shoot the three? I mean, I'll just say it. I think he was the best 3-point shooter in last year's draft, and he lived up to it. Maybe his numbers fell off a little bit because of the towards the end because of the injury and stuff.
Mhm.
But he was cooking for a while. I mean, he was up above 40% 3-point shooting for a long stretch. I'm
So go
super
ahead.
happy with him. I think he's a fantastic pickup at 25.
All right. So if you were the coach and GM, would you increase his role next season? We see that he was able to average 17.1 minutes per game. Would you think that's just the right amount of minutes for him to be playing off the bench as a role player? Or would you increase his numbers or his minutes to about the 22 to 25 minutes per game range? Or would you go and say, F it, let's start him? He's shown us enough to move him up into the starting lineup next season. Which would
That's a
do?
great question. I mean, a lot of it depends on the other pieces that we're talking about, but I would not hesitate to start him at all because a lot of it is because of his defense. His defensively, the guy. I mean, he's a great. Well, I don't want to say great, but he's an excellent man-on-man defender and defender in the team defender, and he's switchable. He can switch. He can guard a 1, a 2, 3s, and he even has guarded some 4s because he's pretty strong. So his flexibility that he provides is tremendous, and he's a pretty decent passer, pretty good passer. His handle, that's the one thing that kind of keeps him down from, really popping. And but that was the issue in college as well. But I think he's excellent. I think I graded him too low. He should easily have been a B+ for what he did.
You got to talk him up, George. I like that. I gave him
Yeah.
an A-. Like I said, he kind of surprised me. I knew he would, be a decent player when given some minutes, but I didn't know he would be able to check off so many boxes when he was able to show us what he can do. Grimes, I knew he was going to be a defender, knew he was going to be a 3-point shooter. I just didn't know he'd be able to do both of them so well here in the NBA. He was locking down players like Trey out on the perimeter. Like you said, he's very versatile and when it comes to defense. He can switch. He's a smart defender, knocked down the 3. He shot it 38%, but he was shooting, like you said, in the 40% range before the injury that kind of threw off his rhythm and things like that. His handle is going to be an
Especially the way
issue.
he shoots. He
Yes.
gets up high. He
Mhm.
needs those knees to really. He needs to not have to worry about them, and I think it might have just been in the back of his head.
In the back of his head. Yep. Yeah, and you like his form. It's very consistent shooting motion, something that you see him. He looks, you don't look at Grimes and say, okay, that jump shot looked a little off. And if it does look off, it's somewhat alarming because you don't really see that. And now you want to dive a little bit deeper to figure out what was going on. So with him, I liked everything I saw, the defense, the 3-point shooting, the weak handle. If we want his ceiling to be a little bit higher, he's going to have to get better at that. And if he's able to develop, some dribble moves, the sky's the limit for a guy like Grimes, who works hard, who was originally scouted as one of the best players coming out of high school. And it's just that handle that has really, limited what he can be here in the league.
And it's not a terrible handle.
Yeah, it's just he's not beating too many people off the dribble. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
He can attack some bigs here and there to get into the paint, but if you have a legitimate perimeter defender, they're going to give him some trouble.
Yeah.
One thing, though, I would like to see him be used a little bit more off ball as well, like running around screens, like you see Klay Thompson do for the Warriors and things like that. We need some more of that integrated into our offensive scheme to get some more out of him.
Yeah, he is. I see Phantom wrote either we start Grimes or not. He's going to be our Kyle Korver. I think Kyle Korver's probably. I mean, I think that's very possible for him to turn into that kind of player. But I think he's a Klay Thompson light guy. I think he's like the B+ version of a Klay Thompson, which is out tremendous. That
He's
could be
budget
tremendous.
Klay.
Yeah, budget Klay. Dollar Tree Klay. Hey, you
just
got to
get that knee right.
You get some
man.
good deals at Dollar Tree sometimes.
That's a fact, especially now dealing with inflation. Let's see. Soul Train 68 says Grimes, he's getting a B. He agrees with you, George. Let's see if we have any other grades in the chat.
An A.
Juan Ventura.
Ashley Inc says A.
Oh, yep. Let me see. I got to scroll
better.
all the way up.
He played better than the vets at his position as a rookie.
That's true.
Yeah. Fournier and Burke should come off the bench behind him. Well, I agree with that.
Also, for those who might not have noticed, I put a poll in the chat asking the same question that's on screen. Should the Knicks start Grimes next season? The answers are going to be either no, he's better off the bench, or yes, we do need to start him and see what he can do. Let's see where that poll is at now. 59% are saying he should stay off the bench.
Depending on, the alignment, I think, I mean, he works well off the bench. He doesn't seem to be one of those guys that needs to start to be impactful.
I like the starting lineup right here. Quick, Cam, RJ, Obi, and Mitch.
That's a nice one. That's a nice. Look at that. 4 draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
And we traded one of our guys to bring Cam in.
So it counts.
Yeah.
By 6 degrees of separation.
Hey, you know what? Look, we have a good young core. I mean, nice. We were saying it before the season even started.
Yeah.
I put out that video. I said, I think we had like the 4th best young core in the NBA.
I remember that. Yep, I remember that video.
It took all season for us to finally see it. Now we see it. Grimes.
No, George. It took all season for Thibs to see it.
Yeah.
I think the vast majority of the fan base was right behind you in agreement. We knew that we had a solid young core, but Thibs, I don't know what he was thinking. Ridiculous.
That's a couple of people have said we needed to be a public apology.
Facts. Especially with the way he was pumping out his chest.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro.
And you know what? A public apology, in my opinion, I think it could go a long way to him refurbishing the relationship with the fans.
I mean, hey, the Knicks themselves know they've got to refurbish the relationship with the fans. They're blowing up my email left, right, and center talking about renew.
Yeah. But meanwhile, like we just said before, they're telling us to shut the F up.
Right. Oh man, it's crazy. But let's move on to the next player I wanted to discuss. I actually closed the poll. Let me let you guys know what the final tally was. I'm doing better today than I did yesterday.
Oh, Jay Boogie's in the house.
Hey, salute to Jay Boogie. Appreciate you pulling up. So we got 56% saying that Grimes is better coming off the bench, and 43% they want him to start next season at the 2. All right.
I mean, I could easily see him starting. I could easily see him starting. Just wonder. I could see him starting.
Yeah, I mean, I to answer the question myself, I wouldn't start him because I have another guy in mind to start. No, I'd have him come off the bench. I'd up his minutes a little bit from the 17.1, get him to that 22, 23 off the bench. But I have another guy in mind starting at the 3. And speaking of that guy, it's our guy, Cam Reddish. George, we couldn't grade Cam. It wouldn't be fair. He only played, I think, 14 games in total. So we gave him an NC. If you're familiar with CUNY, NC means, no credit. It's not going to hurt his GPA or anything. We're not going to hold it against him. This season should be a wash.
We could have done pass-fail. We could have done pass-fail. He passed.
So from the time you did see Cam out there on the court, what did you see from him? What are some areas of his game that you can see translating to us next season when he's out there with more minutes, out there playing more minutes with this young core?
I think we finally, at least I have, because I've watched him. I watched his high school tape, and I watched him at Duke. And even when he was at Atlanta, I've always been intrigued by his game. I always felt like there were times when he, Zion, and RJ were when they were together at Duke. There were times where I thought, oh wait, could Cam be the better player of all 3? Like, that's the type of talent that he has. I just don't know if he will ever put it together that way. However, what we did see this season, we saw glimpses of it, and it looks like it's definitely more of a possibility now that he could really live up to his potential. That would be tremendous. So if we trade this guy over the offseason and we don't get something humongous in return, like a tremendous impact player or situation in return, we're gonna regret giving up on him, because I could see him turning into something really, really interesting and dynamic in this league. Especially the fact that he's also a good defender when he's really focused on that.
When he's engaged, yeah, you got to
Yeah,
specify when he's engaged.
when he's engaged, and his size, his length, his speed, his handle. I mean, everything is it's like upper crust. Like he's I don't know. I mean, I know he's one of your favorites, but I
Hmm.
think tremendous potential. But then we also saw, you know, a little bit too the blinders on, not passing enough, because he is a good passer, but he has to choose to.
Exactly.
So that's difficult. Can he make his other teammates better? That's the level that of the conversation that he's in now. Like, which is what we see with RJ. Can RJ make other guys better? And we've seen that he can. So I think Cam is an interesting player, man. I wouldn't mind seeing Cam start at all.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. What if you were heading into next season or this off season, and before you make any moves, any splashes, you were going to say, all right, before I get into this off season or this free agency pool, I know I have these guys as my defined starters. Would you have a spot assigned for Cam Reddish in the starting lineup before you head into this off season and try and make some moves? You think he'd be best suited at the starting 2 or the starting 3 on the New York Knicks, or do you think he'd be better suited coming off the bench, or even, as you mentioned earlier in the show, potential trade bait?
I mean, as far as the trade, I'm willing to make trades if it's going to really like help
Improve
the
the
team.
team.
Yeah, that so, and you have sometimes you have to lose, you have to give up something that hurts to improve, to give, so he would be that piece. I think he would be the number one trade piece for this team in the offseason. That's not like one of the vets like Randle or Fournier and guys like that. As far as the young core, he probably has I mean, well, that's not true. IQ is pretty he's coveted too, but I don't know. I
Hmm.
just think Cam has all the tools, man. He's got all
Yep.
the tools. So yes, I could see him if we went into next season with that starting lineup. I forgot who posted it. I would
Quick,
be yeah. I
RJ, Cam, Obi, Mitch.
yeah. I would be happy with. I think that could be a 500 team. That could be a 500 team in the NBA.
Yeah. Just and you still have solid players coming off the bench in Deuce,
Mm-hmm.
Grimes, and
Fournier
Sims.
and
Fournier, he's still on the team.
Fournier could shoot. I mean, the guy,
Hmm.
he ended up really coming through in terms of what he was supposed to do. His defense, but
Suspect, but off the bench, you can kind of hide him a little bit.
totally, totally.
So I put a poll up in the chat, the same question I asked you. Moving forward, where do you guys envision Cam starting for the New York Knicks, whether at the 2 or the 3? Or do you think he is better served off the bench, or do you think he is potential trade bait this offseason? Me personally, I would start Cam at the 3. I think we saw a lot of what Cam was able to do this season in the game against the Clippers, where he was able to go off and drop 17 points. You look at Cam and his game, it seems almost like he's playing at half speed, but everything just looks effortless for him. He can create off the dribble. He can knock
Great
down
word.
the 3, even though the 3-point percentage wasn't great as at only 27% from 3. But look at how many minutes he averaged, just 14.3. Really hard for a guy like that to get into rhythm. And I think Cam could develop into an elite defender on the wings, on the perimeter. And when you look at trying to build a championship contending team, that's one of those pieces that is going to be instrumental to achieving that goal. So we have one in Cam who can, I think, fulfill that role and do a lot more. So I don't want them to go into this offseason and think that they should move on from him. And I think we should continue to build around, players like Cam and RJ, because we've already seen them be a dynamic duo in Duke. And I think they can kind of replicate some of those performances here with the Knicks. We just have to give him an opportunity. And unfortunately, last year, we have to call it last year now. Do we call it last year, or is it still this season, even though we're out of it?
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're going to call it last year.
All right, so
I want to put it in the past.
as far behind us as possible. So even though last
it wasn't
year
even a week,
didn't get to see much. Yeah,
isn't it crazy?
Yeah, Sunday makes a week. Yeah, I was looking at the Obi Toppin highlights, and I'm like, it's only 4 days ago. I was like, what the hell? I feel like we've been out of it for a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm excited for Cam to get an opportunity next season. It just dampens my parade a little bit.
Jay Boogie had a good comment here.
What do you say?
If Cam had Obi energy and Obi had Cam's skill set, we would have 2 all-stars on our team.
That's a fact.
That's a fact.
That's a fact. But I think Cam, even with the energy he has now, he just has to, pick it up just a little bit and just look more engaged. As long as he looks a little bit more engaged, like the Clippers game, I wouldn't say that there was an uptick in energy. He just, was able to get the ball, get into a rhythm, and make quick decisions and attack the basket and finish. And I think if we see more of that next season, we're going to see him have a much better season here with the Knicks.
Yeah, I mean, his ability to split defenses, just slice right through people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just, it's awesome. It's wonderful to watch. And he's got a nice touch at the end.
Yep. His ability to intercept passes.
Yeah.
That too. That's, I think, was big for the Knicks when he was in the game. He was able to intercept those passes, get the fast break going. And when we have the young guys out there, we're extremely dangerous in the fast break. Imagine, Cam able to intercept the pass, kick it out to Quickley, who's able to push it up for Obi for a dunk. Imagine the garden exploding after that play.
Dude, the amount of mental hurdles that people created to demean what the young core did this season, right? It was so disrespectful. They're like, well, it's off the bench, it's garbage time. It's like, dude, they're all NBA players. These are the best players in the world. If our young core can go out and dominate, then they're quality. I mean, why do we have to disrespect them like that? They are quality young core. And the thing is, though, Thibs, someone else wrote in the chat, we forgot that Thibs is the coach. He's not going to start him or something like that. And he's right. I find it hard to believe that Thibs would ever start Cam. You're muted.
I'm muted again. That's why I mentioned, if you were the coach and you had the power, what would you do? I want to know what the chat thinks and what you think, George. Not necessarily what the team is going to do, because it doesn't matter what we think the team is going to do. They clearly don't give a damn, because we've been saying all season, play the kids, and they just threw that right out the window. Said, nope, it's not an option. Burks is the best option at point guard.
Yep. Oh, and yes, Andrew, happy Jackie Robinson Day.
Facts. Happy Jackie Robinson Day. Put that on screen.
Absolutely, man.
Boom. All right, so let's check the poll. So 70% believe that the Knicks should start Cam at the 3 next season.
Yes. I mean, absolutely.
Well, actually, no, it adjusted. It went down to 68% now when I closed the poll.
Well, the good thing is that it pushes RJ to his natural spot, which is at the 2.
Yep.
RJ's more of a 2. Cam at
some
the
better
3.
matchups.
Yeah. Obi at the 4. I mean, right there. That makes me happy.
Yeah. I'm telling you, that starting lineup we mentioned, it's going to be hard for other teams to guard us.
Think about the
great defenders to play
the
defense.
non-stop rim pressure those 3 will put on a game in a full game. Those 3 will constantly be attacking that hoop. I mean, it's going to put other teams, in foul trouble constantly.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's what we need. We need more athleticism. We saw it the entirety of last season. Other teams were more athletic against us, and when we put in the second unit, which was comprised mostly of those young guys, we were able to blow other teams out the water. Now, I don't understand why we couldn't have adjusted and put those guys against starters and see how they held their own. But I think even if we did that, we still would have been exposed, I think, a little bit when the vets came in. But that's why you give them less time on the court. You don't go and make sure that they play, the most games on the team or average, 28, 29 minutes per game. We don't need that next year. Hopefully the lesson has been learned and we make adjustments. That's all we can hope for.
Let's hope.
Uncle Ralph says, but could they shoot their free throws? Now, the team as a whole struggled with their free throw shooting. That's definitely something we have to get better with. But Cam hit his free throws. Cam and Quick hit their free throws.
Yep. And then
Obi got better hitting his free throws.
Obi got better. Yeah. It was RJ that really
RJ, Sims, Mitch, Randle.
If RJ could get up to 80%, hey, he'd be 25 points a night.
Mm-hmm.
Guaranteed.
Book it.
Yeah, book it. 25 a night.
Oh, whoopsie.
We have 170 in the chat. Thanks for joining us. Hit the thumbs up.
Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm about to tune us out. We got 173 in chat. Appreciate that. Make sure you guys smash that like button. We've got 74 likes. Also, I believe Lex posted. Yep. Make sure you guys check out the links to subscribe to my channel and also subscribe to George's channel as well.
Absolutely. E. Gibson wrote, Tom Seaver's stats are amazing. He was a great pitcher. No doubt.
That's a fact.
I got to watch him as a kid. He was one of the greatest pitchers in the history of baseball. There's like no disputing that. Unbelievable.
I wasn't lucky enough to catch
I used to practice
pitching.
how he threw. You get the little dirt on the right knee.
Mm-hmm.
Because it hit the mound, his right knee, when he delivered.
I believe they're putting a statue up in front of City Field.
I think so.
This season.
Yeah, I think that's why he wrote that. Yeah.
If you're ever in New York during a summer day or summer evening, we got to go catch a game.
Absolutely, man. It's a great.
I love
City Field is amazing.
Amazing. It has parking on site too. You can't beat it. Cannot beat it. You go to Yankee Stadium, your car gets towed. Ridiculous.
Yankee Stadium.
All right, so let's talk about our guy Emmanuel Quickley. And I closed the poll. Talk about Emmanuel Quickley and his performance. And also, I have some stats for the detractors as well, George. You mentioned some of the, people are kind of saying that the young guys played in games that didn't matter, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I put together some stats from a little bit of a larger sample size, and we'll talk about that as well. But talking about Emmanuel Quickley, and I want to know how would you grade his performance this season? And also, did he show enough this season to warrant being in consideration for starting point guard next year? And, it's kind of crazy that I would have to even ask that, because I think he's shown enough this year to get that starting nod. But I just want to know your opinion on it.
I'm going to blow your mind.
Oh, you're going to tell me no?
Maybe not. No, I'm going to blow your mind. I'm going to say that this is how much I believe in Emmanuel Quickley. I believe that Emmanuel Quickley, if given the opportunity, could turn into one of the top 5 point guards in the NBA. You hear that, JD? JD and I, we've and with Keith, the three of us, we've been having this thing for like a year already about Quickley. He has think it all through. Think about everything he has done, and also in the situation that he was thrown in. He was the SEC Player of the Year. And he played with Maxey, but he was the offensive engine on that team, not Maxey. It was Quickley. And Calipari admitted that he made a mistake in how he first was using Quickley when he first got him, because he didn't understand him. Because that's the thing is we like to put guys into boxes, or like and pigeonhole them, like, oh, he's that, he's not that, he's this, he's that, he's this, he's that. It's like he's a baller. He's a player. He's dynamic. You want him to share the ball? He's sharing the ball. You want him to improve his court vision? He's improving his court vision. Do you want him to improve his floater? Do you want him to finish at the rim better? He's doing that. He's doing everything. I'm telling you, this guy is dynamic. We might have the point guard for the Knicks for the next 10 years in number 5.
a lot, George.
That's a lot.
So you think top five.
I think top 5.
I won't go that far, but I think he'll definitely be a solid player.
A winning player.
As
Like,
you
I mean,
said,
I'm saying, when I say that, I mean, all right, maybe there's 10 guys better than him, but he could be a point guard on a
in terms of a
contending
difference
team.
maker.
Yes, exactly. On a contending team. Yes. His defense has ratcheted up to a point where he's become a really good defender. He's good at switching. He knows how to like dive into those lanes and get those steals. He's a disruptor. He's a total disruptor on the defensive end, and he's a disruptor on the offensive end as well. And he's still young, and he's never really fully played the point guard position until this season, really, when Rose went down. He was playing it before, but he always had the safety net of being out on the court with Rose.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, and that's
it's funny. He played that role for Deuce this season.
Yes. I know a lot of people think Deuce could be a better point guard. He might be, but I just don't think Deuce's offensive game is as varied and deadly as IQ's can be. I mean, this guy can score 20 points in a quarter at any moment.
Off threes and free throws.
Yeah. And like 90% free throw shooter. Come on. He knows how to.
So I would assume you're starting him next season.
Yes.
Safe to say. Yes. I also put that question in the chat. I put a poll up. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think next season Quickley should start? And if he should start, let me know if it should be at point guard, shooting guard, or no, keep him off the bench. Or the last option is going to be, doesn't really matter because he's going to be trade bait for a bigger move. So let me know your selections down in the chat. Now, I gave Quick a B, George.
If we do trade him, whoever's getting him is going to be happy. They're going to be like, wow, we got this guy.
He's a weapon.
Yeah. Oh, someone else wrote in here about the turnovers. Yeah, his turnovers per game is tremendous. The fact that
3-to-1 ratio.
Yeah.
So I gave Quick a B. I think you still have to factor in some of the struggles he had to start the season. And, you do have some explanations for those struggles. The fact that Thibs wasn't giving him consistent playing time. So I do want to point that out as well. And I just noticed Quick's elbow was kind of covering the minutes per game. So the 23.1 is the minutes per game for Quick. And I liked a lot of what I saw from Emmanuel Quickley this season once he started to find his groove. You saw him make sound decisions with the basketball in his hand and the passing, even though he did miss some reads here and there, as long as at least he wasn't making some egregious mistakes like some of the other people we saw that was given the duty of running point. Another thing I love to see from Quick is the ability to rebound, and not only rebound, but then push the pace, get the ball up the court, and get easy scoring opportunities for his teammates. That's something we saw time and time again in the last 4 to 5 games that he was out there playing. And I think that's going to be a major weapon for him moving forward because he's quick with the ball in his hand. He's making some pretty sound decisions when he's pushing the rock forward. And he has the physical tools to be a great rebounder. He's got, 6'10" reach?
6'11",
great.
I think, yeah.
In that ballpark. He's got great ability to track rebounds and go out there, secure rebounds, especially against
great
players.
Great rebound for a guard. Yeah,
exactly. And you add that to everything else he's able to do out there on the court, and you have a solid guard, whether you want to play him at point or play him at the 2, that can give you moments where he can just light you up from 3, attack you off the dribble, or kick it to his teammates for open looks. So he can do so many things, play solid defense. And I think that's why I gave him the B, just because, I still had to factor in some of the struggles he had to start the year.
Yeah. Hey, look, the rebounding for a guard is so much more important in today's NBA, when there's about 70 3-pointers put up in the air every game by both teams. Long rebounds. You need a guard who's got a nose for the ball like that. So that talent is of a higher priority now in today's game, and he's got that. Buzzer beater. Yeah. Came through.
Submitted a super chat. He said, "Thank you, Keith, for bringing up the success of the small ball lineup. I've been screaming this for 2 seasons. We can outrun teams with dominant 5s." That's a fact. That's why we were kind of screaming to see a little bit more of Randle and Obi out there on the court together. But you were getting a lackluster effort from Randle. It was kind of hard for us to go that route. And then we lost Cam, so we couldn't put Cam in to try and be a small ball 4 and give us some better spacing and things like that. But the way Obi's been shooting, man, small ball lineups is going to kill next season for the New York Knicks. We just got to bring the right pieces in.
Did you see Thibs talk about, he said he thinks Julius, how did he phrase it? But he was referring to playing with faster pace is beneficial for Julius.
Well, it's beneficial for Julius when he's not the one pushing the pace.
Yeah, but playing at a higher pace is what he was saying. It's the game is easier for Julius, something like that. I can't remember the exact words, but basically his inference was play faster, Julius.
Yeah, he can play faster with more energy, but he just can't be the one pushing the rock. He can't be the one bringing the ball up because we tried that and we did see some success. That was, I think, during those stretch of like 3 or 4 games where Randle was going crazy. We were getting him in positions to score and attack teams early by him pushing the ball up. The thing is, if you keep running the offense through Julius Randle, he's going to make some mental errors and cough the ball up or take bad shots or things like that, or put us in disadvantageous positions. So you want a player like Quickley more so to push the pace and get us in those sets and things like that, and just let Randle eat off of the attention that Quickley is drawing, as opposed to Randle being the one that's facilitating and initiating the offense at that quicker pace.
Mm-hmm. Well, Adele has a super chat too.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank
Jay Boogie. Yes.
I'll get back to Jay Boogie. I'll be right back.
That was a good one.
Adele Chapman says, Quick has Thibs trust. Hope that trust earns him more minutes. It sounds like it is. Hopefully it earns him more minutes and a larger role within the offense.
There really aren't that many options for point guard this offseason, unless we get lucky. Somebody comes out of nowhere and request a trade. I'm not enthused with Malcolm Brogdon, a trade for him and paying that type of money. What's he making? 27 million or something? I mean, that's a lot.
It might be around 23. Is it that high? Let me look it up. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's in the mid 20s or whatever. I mean, that's a lot of money. When you have a guy like Quickley, and then Brunson, I like him. I wouldn't be upset if we got him, but I'd rather start Quickley. I think this guy has the ability to lead a team to 40 plus wins. And especially if he goes and gets some tutelage from CP3.
Yeah, like Jay Boogie the closer says, I'm sending him Quickley to work out with CP3 during the offseason. Yeah, Quickley.
Come to LA, Quickley. Come to LA.
That's
where they all work out.
Work with CP3. We're gonna have Mitch work with Hakeem. Who was sending Obi to?
Obi?
Amari? Send him over to Israel. They can go take wine baths.
Yes.
Oh, well, speaking of Obi, that's actually the next guy we're gonna know. Before I get to that,
Brogdon's always hurt. That's right, Uncle Ralph. He does. He is. Yeah,
that's true. I caught myself. I was almost moving ahead without closing the poll. Here we go. So should Quickley start for the Knicks next season? We have 75% saying he should start at point guard. We have 14% saying that no, he shouldn't start. Let's keep him off the bench. And we have 8% saying that he should start, but at shooting guard. And then we've got 1% saying it doesn't really matter. He's getting shipped out of here this offseason.
What we really need is, and Foxy brought, we need like a Herb Jones, a big wing who is a defensive stopper specialist who can give you some offense when we're in those weird matchups. We need to have the flexibility to plug and play different guys. I think that is really the way that you learn, that you win in this NBA, where we're going to. And Steve Kerr is aware of that. If you notice what he's trying to do, he is still experimenting. Can you imagine that guy is still experimenting with his lineups? He's trying to figure out, wait, Kuminga, I could play him with this kind of opponent, and then maybe, we'll do a Clay and Steph here, but no, maybe I'll have Jordan Poole come in. I love that. I mean, I don't know why we have to be so rigid. It's these 5 guys.
Yep.
And
look at the Kimba situation. He's either a starter or he doesn't play.
Yeah.
There's no in between. He can't even give us 10 minutes.
Kemba could have been a tremendous guy off the bench, 10, 15 minutes a game, comes in, gives you 10 points in 10 minutes.
A little spurt and sit
Yeah.
back down.
And then those games when he's got it and he's feeling great, you leave him in longer. You know,
It's ridiculous what we had to endure, George. But hopefully next season will be a little bit different based on what Thibs is saying. And hopefully we'll see guys like the one we're going to talk about next, like Obi Toppin, actually be given the opportunity to legitimately earn minutes in a larger role, because it sounded just like lip service when Thibs would say it at the press conference. And it's sounds even more like that with him saying whatever he's saying behind the scenes, talking about he realized he was wrong by not giving those guys more minutes. If that's the case, what was the whole you got to earn your minutes, blase.
Does anyone know when he said it
and say they should be playing?
Does anyone know at what time in the season he was referring to?
I think he was saying it now as he was reflecting.
So now in hindsight, now he's looking back.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Monday morning quarterbacking.
Monday morning quarterbacking himself.
Yeah, right. But of course, he can't do that on the radio or at press conferences because people will kill him. All right, so George,
John Talento asks, what do you guys think about trading for Kobe White?
I think we're good with Quick. We already have Quick. I think we have too many.
I like Kobe.
Now, I think
I like him. I just don't think I don't think he's a Thibs guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I do like him.
But we've got Quick, we've got Deuce, and I think we still have Derrick Rose. What are we gonna do with Rose when he returns?
Nick Gay, you're right. I mean, you can, but the fact that he's willing to, he's constantly seeking, the right type of lineup against certain opponents. And Ty Lue does a similar thing. So you look at the successful coaches; they are much more flexible than the Thibs.
They're trying.
Yeah,
and if you look at this team, we have a lot of players that you can put in flexible lineups and that can guard multiple positions. We talked about Grimes; he can guard multiple positions. Quick can guard multiple positions. Cam, when healthy, can guard.
We could put out a giant lineup. We could have RJ at the 1, Cam. We can have RJ, Cam, Obi, Randle, and Mitch. That's a huge team. It's not 2 or 3 7-footers like the Cavs have, but all the way around, that's a big team.
Yeah, there's a lot of options. That lineup sounds like a 2K lineup, though, George.
Yeah. Hey, but RJ played a lot of point in college.
I hear you.
He ran that show. And if you notice, RJ, once he started using Obi the way he used to play with Zion, their chemistry really caught on. I wish we had seen more Obi and RJ on the court together, those two.
In fact, him and throw Quicken too. That little trio.
Quick too.
That trio.
Yeah.
All right. But speaking of those guys, let's talk about Obi. I want to know what grade you decided to give Obi, George. Well, actually, I know what grade you gave him. I just want you to explain it to SV Nation.
I gave him a B+, right?
I believe so. But if this computer would allow me, I'll put it on screen. Boom.
100% think he was a B+ guy, considering from where he started the season, constantly looking over his shoulder, like we talked about all that stuff already. He grew up this season. And his demeanor, his attitude is so positive. He's fun to watch. I would imagine he's fun to play with. Defensively, he's improved. He definitely has a way to go. But he is showing he's a late bloomer. We've said it. We said it last season. But when he was at Dayton had won 20 games in a row. They were the number 3 ranked team in the NBA, in college. They could have won. They could have beaten Kansas that year. They could have won it all. That's how good a player he was in college. Unfortunately, he was trapped behind Randle and trapped behind Thibs' stubbornness, unwillingness to keep experimenting, let him fail until he started succeeding. He had to overcome all those obstacles, and yet at the end of the season, to finish with a 40 burger. Wow. That's I mean, if you can't dominate against weaker competition, you're not going to be able to compete against the better competition. So he's showing that he could be a serious power forward in this league.
So now the $1 million question is, do you see him as a starting power forward for the New York Knicks next season?
I dream of it. Mostly because it means Randle won't be on the team.
Exactly. But if you had the choice, if you were running the ship, would Obi be the starting power forward for the Knicks next season? And SV Nation, I'm asking you guys as well. I put the poll in chat. Wanted to get your opinions. What would you do with Obi next season? Would you start him at power forward? Do you think he should continue to come off the bench? He's better suited coming off the bench, or do you think it doesn't matter because he's going to be trade bait this offseason?
What do you think?
Me, I think he should be the starting power forward next year. We've seen what he can do. We had a 4-game sample size with Randle out completely. Was it 4 or 5?
I think he has a higher ceiling than like John Collins.
That's debatable.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. What am I talking about? I don't know. I'm bugging. Yeah, I think he has a higher ceiling than John Collins. Definitely, if he puts it all together, especially with the way he was able to knock down.
First of all, he's a 10 times better passer than John Collins. He might be a better passer than most power forwards in the game.
And he has a knack for getting to the basket.
Oh, man,
he's just always around the basket and in position for teams to find him down below. I forgot what game it was where the team played, I think, 3 guard. The Bulls, they played 3 guards against us, or 4 guards against us for the majority of the game. And I was expecting our bigs to eat in the paint. And the only one that was actually getting to the paint and trying to dominate down there was Obi. So that was great to see his awareness, knowing that he's got little people that can't guard him and he should abuse them. And then he can also turn around and knock down the 3 at a pretty high clip from what we've seen. If he can carry all that over into next season, then I definitely think Obi Toppin should be the starter for the New York Knicks. I mean, you look at the stats I have on screen, but that doesn't really tell the whole story, because you can see he only had those, he only scored that, or he only averaged those in 17.1 minutes per game. And I think that was a crime. Obi should have been averaging anywhere between 25 to 28 minutes per game at least. Especially
how many times were we screaming when Thibs would take him out of the game after having like an
for no reason.
For no reason.
For no legitimate reason. And then you look at Julius Randle, he shot 41% from the field and 31% from the 3-point line, yet he averaged, 35 minutes per game. And you look at Obi, who shot 53% from the field, 30% from the 3-point line, and he's only getting 17. Honestly, Obi, just off these numbers in a situation that wasn't ideal for him, did better than what we saw from Julius Randle when everything was set for him to succeed. So I think Obi definitely should have gotten more minutes last year, and moving forward, we can't make that same mistake, and he should be the starting power forward for the New York Knicks in 2022, 2023.
100%. And then we can trade Randle and maybe get a stretch 5.
Yeah, that would be nice, especially if Mitch is going to move on to another team. We can bring in a stretch 5, still have Sims coming in off the bench. You got we still have Cam, who we discussed, Grimes, Quick, Fournier off the bench as well. We just got to find ways to move off of Burks and Nerlens Noel, and then we'd be good to go. So some highlights for Obi Toppin this year. He had his career high 42 points versus the Toronto Raptors. And you look at some of his struggles, getting minutes, earning Thibs' trust, which we much mentioned. Mark Berman says Obi now has Thibs' trust. So I expect Obi to be a major part of this team next season, getting a lot more minutes. It'll just remain to be seen. What will happen to Julius Randle in order to kind of help facilitate that. But I think Obi has done everything within his power to increase his role here on the New York Knicks.
Absolutely. Obi in 2,349 possessions, not garbage time, was a plus 6.8 differential. Obi was a plus 6.8 differential when he's on the court. I mean, all possessions when he's on the court, and that's not including garbage time. That is an 86 percentile. That's that high up in the 86 percentile. Randle, when he was on the court, I'm already laughing, but I don't even know what the numbers are.
I'm not even looking at it, and I'm laughing over here.
Randle, in 5,000 possessions, was a minus 3.3 whenever he was on the court. I mean, that's a 9. That's almost a 10-point swing, guys. You're gonna tell me with Obi we couldn't have won like 4 or 5 more games as him as the starter?
That's a fact. George Nick Gay says, "Do you think Obi can be a starter without being able to create his own shot?" Yeah, I think so. He started towards the end of this season, and people were able to find
He's so athletic.
looks for him.
Yeah.
And also he can create for himself in spurts.
Yes.
You're not asking him to go down and go ISO every possession like he's Julius.
When he's one-on-one with a guy, he beats his defender constantly.
Especially if he has a mismatch.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and you can create mismatches with him.
So he can't attack the great defender or an elite defender and win a lot one-on-one. But the NBA, this is not
how many great defenders are there in the
known
NBA?
For their defense. Exactly.
Yeah, it's not the 80s anymore. I mean, this is we have a bunch of
they're trying to promote offense.
Yeah.
Also, we have a super chat from Adele. He says, Obi, a number 1 option over RJ. He is efficient. I don't know about Obi being the number 1 option because, one, we don't have a point guard that's going to really be able to set him up consistently like a Steve Nash would do for an Amari or a Stockton did for a Karl Malone. If we brought in somebody like that, then maybe you could look at Obi as a number 1 option when you're calling him a little bit more in the pick and roll. But I think right now RJ is still the number 1 option. He's shown to be a killer. He's shown to be clutch. And I think the team should continue to build around RJ as the one initiating the offense.
Yeah, I don't number 1 option. I mean, he could be, but we're talking about the criteria, meaning you mean on a good team. That
on a good team, on this team right now, I don't think he's the number 1. He could be a number 1 option. Not now, at least.
Not now.
Develop a little bit.
I mean, you guys see what happened. Like RJ, he evolved into that. Where almost, I mean, once he started going downhill, religiously, then he became a number 1 type option guy. He'll get to the hoop. Hopefully, he'll finish at a higher rate next year. He has to, but he's picking up those fouls. It's awesome. Hit those free throws. Obi, I'm not sure if all right, we need a bucket in this possession. I'm not sure if he's the guy.
If he's that type of guy.
Yeah. And we know Randle's not. That's the other thing. We did learn Randle is not. If he was, we would have won that Atlanta series last year.
And if he was, we wouldn't be asking if Obi should be starting next season.
We wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Yeah, we'd be talking about who should we trade Obi for. Honestly.
Yeah.
All right, George. So I wanted to end it on this.
Andrew Kolodisi, I think that's how you say it. He believes Kolodzi, number 1 option next playoffs. Yes, I like that thinking. I like that.
Hopefully. So, George, I just want to end it on this slide here, just looking at some of these guys, Obi and Quick, showing what they were able to do with a little bit of a larger sample size. So these are the games when they were able to play 28 minutes or more. You see that in the 8 games, Obi was averaging 23.4 points per game, 6.1 rebounds per game, and 3.4 assists per game while shooting 58% from the field, 42% from the 3-point line, and we ended up with a 5-3 win-loss record. Now, when it comes to Quick and in games he played over 20 minutes or 28 minutes, it was he was able to average 18 points per game, 5.6 assists per game, 5.4 rebounds per game, while shooting 44% from the field, 42% from the 3-point line, and we have a 10-6 win-loss record as a team. Now, I had to put these stats up because, maybe we have non-Knicks fans who just wanted to tune in and see what we were talking about. And they might see Obi stats, they might see Quick stats and say, what the hell are these guys talking about? These are not the most impressive stats over the entirety of a season. But when you look at games in which these guys were actually given the opportunity and the minutes to get into a rhythm, you can see that they played exceptionally well. So that's why we're bringing up these questions and trying to, let you guys know that we think these two were underused this season, weren't put in the best position to succeed. And next year, hopefully, we're able to right some of those wrongs. And hopefully next year we're not talking at on 415 saying last year, when we should continually be talking about the Knicks in a playoff position. Honestly, next year this season.
Those are very impressive stats right there. I didn't realize Obi 3.4 per game for assists. I didn't realize it was that high when he played 28 minutes more. That's really nice. That's very impressive.
Yeah, they were solid when they were actually given the opportunity to play their games. And then it's more than just how many games exactly did they miss to end the season with Randle? Was it the last 5 or last?
5. Randle didn't play the last 5 games.
The last 5. So this is a little bit larger of a sample size. You got 3 extra games for Obi, which most of them occurred towards the middle of the season when it was COVID running around. And then with Quick, you've got a 16-game sample size. So even larger sample size for Quick to kind of analyze his performance out there on the court. And this is just kind of confirming what you and I see out there on the court. And SB Nation, I hope you guys are seeing the same thing as well when you see Obi and Quick out there on the court together. And I think it's even better when they're out there as a tandem. They feed off of each other. Quick is constantly looking for Obi Toppin, especially when he's starting to, break, run out on the fast break. Yeah, not even just on the fast break, like the alley-oops. It's ridiculous. We don't see that many alley-oops from the Knicks outside of Obi on the court. You see some with Mitch here and there. With Obi, it's like 2 a game. They're throwing it up to him.
I did notice Fournier was looking for Mitch a lot more in the last, 10, 15 games or so. That's something that they should definitely keep working on if they could both come back. According to Cleaning the Glass, the PSA number, which is the total points scored per 100 shot attempts. So it's field goal attempts or trips to the line, including when fouled in the bonus. Obi is 122.3. That's his score, which is a 65 percentile ranking for bigs. He's listed as bigs. It's also different criteria depending on the position you play. Randle, who's also a big, 101.6 for the 7th percentile. And Randle's usage rate is in the 96th percentile, 29.6. That's why we lost. That's why we're not in the playoffs. The guy who took, and to be honest, RJ wasn't that efficient either. It's a role that he kind of grew into. He has to do better at it himself. He's in a 20th percentile in terms of PSA, but Randle's down in 7. He's 7. He's below 10%. Wow.
Yeah, rough year for the guy. You think he can turn it around?
I think yes. I don't think he's that. I don't think he's the guy that we just saw. I think you and I have said this many times. We think he's more in between what he was this season, what he was last season, which is still a frustrating player. But he can be productive if he commits himself on the defensive end for the entire time he's out on the court. He has an impact there. He's a good defender when he applies himself. He has tremendous size. He has great speed for his size. He's versatile. There's a lot of positives about Julius. Unfortunately, he's just not efficient. I don't think he really understands how to kill an opponent.
Doesn't have that Mamba mentality.
No. And it's interesting because a lot of guys, you got to remember, these guys, they won their whole lives just based on, ability, not raw ability, not using this to outsmart the other guy. That's something I don't think he'll ever really develop. Where I do think RJ has that. I think RJ, when he's out there, he is thinking about how to exploit the defense. And then you see that in Quickley as well. It's interesting. I mean, we and then Obi, I put Obi more in the other camp of raw ability. I mean, he works on his game, but I don't know if he's, has the basketball IQ to totally tear another opponent apart. But he could evolve into that.
He's not a cerebral assassin.
Yeah. But we know Randle definitely is not. Definitely is not.
I hear you on that one, George. Well, George, thank you for joining me for this stream. I think we did a great job talking about the grades and also what roles we think the guys will be in next season. Also,
Adele Chapman
got the chat.
Mets looking good.
Yes, sir.
First place
Let's
feels
go.
nice. We chilling, and
gotta have DeGrom
isn't
come
even
back,
here yet.
man.
Yep.
Yeah, 2 months before he's probably back. Let's hope everybody else can hold it down. We got Mad Max holding it down, Bassett.
Obi needs to hang out with Mike Tyson a little. Yes. He's it's
he's gonna come back and fail a drug test. Oh, wait, no, they don't do the drug test in the NBA anymore, right? Wasn't J.R. Smith saying everybody was high in the bubble?
Yeah. It's interesting. Like, he's such a nice guy, and that's what makes him fun to watch and fun to root for, Obi. But at the same time, it might be what keeps him from really unlocking his ultimate potential. He needs a little bit of mean in him, where you see it in RJ. You see that mean streak in him.
Facts. So I almost forgot the poll. I closed it. Should Obi take over the starting role at power forward? Ooh, I put Nest instead of Next. 90% said yes. 7% said no, he's better off the bench. And then 2% says it doesn't really matter. He's going to be trade bait. Anyway, and we also got the most votes too, 85 votes. So thank you guys for participating and engaging with the polls.
We have
230 questions.
There's 230 in the chat. That's awesome. Thank you guys for joining us. Man.
Is that many for real?
Is that what it is?
Oh, 197.
Oh,
you got to hit refresh. Oh. Well, maybe there's 230 people watching you.
Oh, you're right. It's 194.
Yeah.
That's still great.
Yeah. That's still phenomenal. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it. J Money says salute, Keith, George, and the chat. Regular Lee says peace to Keith and George, and shout out to Foxy. Yes, fact. Shout out to my guy Foxy. George, anybody else want to shout out before?
Shout out to Lex. E. Gibson. E. Gibson says this is the first time in decades we have had a core of some young players, even as rotational players. We need to make smart moves going forward. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's why I feel better about the Thibs news, because at least it gives us a little bit of insight into what the Knicks might do. If Thibs likes guys like Quick, Toppin, Deuce, then you would hope that they're not going to be moved in a deal.
Hey, man, Thibs likes winning. He likes winning. He's stubborn as fuck, but he likes winning. And, we all have our failings. It's how you overcome them that is the key to being successful in life. And maybe this season, because unfortunately we're going to have Thibs come back. Maybe he can make it work next season. He's a winning coach throughout his career. Let's just hope that he really does embrace the young guys, and that Leon gives him the right pieces in the offseason.
Yeah, that's important.
Because Leon deserves a lot of the blame for what happened in the first half of the season.
Yeah, he does deserve a lot of the blame, but when you have Thibs admitting that he messed up not playing the young guys, now you got to move the blame a little bit more so towards Thibs, because if you had the young guys on the roster to get us at least into the play-in, then you can at least stomach that a little bit more, as opposed to us flaming out and still not even being able to tank correctly. You hear the ice cream truck?
Jason Acosta. I do hear the ice cream truck. But Jason Acosta. You're at George, just say it out loud. Randle is plain stupid. Lowest IQ in basketball. I was trying.
Yeah, you can't say stuff like that out loud, George. Kendra's gonna tweet you.
Yep. Hey, you saw it. I mean, he picks fights when he shouldn't pick fights. He goes left when he should go right. He doesn't. It
doesn't make sense. We win. He's upset. It's like, what's going on, bro?
Yeah.
What is going on? That's crazy. But yeah, thank you, George, once again for tuning in. SV Nation, appreciate you guys joining us. You had some phenomenal questions. We're pretty engaged with the
Yeah, great
polls.
chat. Great
Yeah.
chat.
Definitely had a great show. George, just let me know whenever you need me over on your channel to do a stream, and I'm there.
Yeah, maybe Sunday.
What time?
Same time.
On your channel?
Yeah.
All right. I'll give you that. You
Yeah.
give me a solid today. We'll switch over to your channel for Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday.
At least give me a Sunday to relax.
Yeah. Chill. It's your day off.
Right? Only day off, but we'll get to that at another time.
Hey, all right. I did this one hungover. Oh man.
Appreciate that though.
Yeah.
You gotta probably do Sundays hungover as well, right?
I'm gonna
no turning up Saturday.
Yeah, I'm.
I hear you on that one. Eddie, who's playing?
I was trying to heal a wounded heart.
If that's what you want to call it, George.
Booze.
If that's what you want to call it. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for tuning in. We will be live again. I'll join George. You said Sunday?
Yes.
What time?
6:30 start.
My time or your time?
Your time.
All right, 6:30 Eastern. We'll be over on Into the Knicks verse, chopping it up. So thank you guys once again. This is the end of the stream. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself, and we will be back over on Into the Knicks verse on Sunday. Peace.